15 signs you're dealing with an evil person. 1. Lack of remorse. No guilt. One of the clearest signs of an evil person is their complete lack of remorse. When they hurt others, emotionally, financially, or physically, they feel no guilt and see no need to apologize. This lack of empathy allows them to repeatedly harm others without a second thought. For example, someone borrows money but never intends to repay it. When confronted, instead of feeling sorry, they might blame you for being too trusting. Their indifference shows they view others as tools for their benefit, revealing a callous and dangerous personality. 2. Manipulative behavior. Manipulation is a defining trait of an evil person. They constantly twist situations, using charm, guilt, or deceit to get what they want, often leaving others feeling confused or trapped. They have a knack for making others feel responsible for their actions or decisions, which allows them to exploit people without direct confrontation. For instance, they may guilt a friend into lending them money, saying, "If you really cared, you'd help me." When their actions come to light, they deflect blame, painting themselves as the victim. This calculated, relentless manipulation makes them dangerous and difficult to recognize at first. 3. Destructive patterns in relationships. An evil person creates chaos in relationships through dysfunction, manipulation, and betrayal. They enter relationships with self-serving motives, prioritizing their needs and disregarding the well-being of others. Their tactics often include lying, gaslighting, or playing the victim, creating a cycle of emotional distress for those involved. For example, they may manipulate their partner into constantly forgiving abusive behavior, claiming, "No one else would love you like I do." They might betray their partner's trust repeatedly, showing no regard for their pain. These relationships are marked by instability, leaving others feeling used, trapped, and emotionally exhausted. 4. Deception and lies. A hallmark of evil individuals is their propensity for deception and habitual lying. They prioritize their own agenda over honesty, often exploiting trust to manipulate others. Their lies are not just casual untruths. They weave elaborate stories that blur the line between reality and fiction, making it hard for victims to discern the truth. For instance, someone might fabricate a personal crisis to gain sympathy and financial help. Once they've gotten what they want, they might dismiss the situation entirely, leaving others feeling betrayed and confused. This relentless dishonesty not only undermines relationships, but also reveals their deep-seated lack of integrity. 5. Lack of boundaries. Evil individuals often exhibit a complete disregard for personal boundaries, invading others' space and privacy without hesitation. They see boundaries not as a form of respect, but as barriers to be pushed or disregarded entirely. This behavior manifests in various ways, from prying into personal matters to overstepping social norms. For example, an evil person might constantly ask intrusive questions about a friend's private life, ignoring clear signals that the friend wants to keep certain topics off limits. They may even manipulate situations to exert control, making others feel uncomfortable or obligated to share more than they want. This violation of boundaries creates an environment of unease and can lead to emotional exploitation. 6. Lack of empathy. A profound lack of empathy is a defining trait of an evil person. They are unable to connect with or understand the feelings and experiences of others, viewing emotions as weaknesses to be exploited. This emotional void makes it easy for them to manipulate, betray, or harm those around them without a second thought. For example, consider someone who dismisses a friend's grief over a loss, saying, "Get over it, life goes on." This callousness reflects their inability to recognize or validate the suffering of others. Their indifference not only erodes relationships, but also allows them to act with cruelty, confident that they won't face any emotional repercussions for their actions. 7. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a manipulative tactic used by evil individuals to distort reality and undermine someone's perceptions, making them question their own sanity. This psychological manipulation involves denying facts, twisting the truth, and projecting blame, leaving the victim feeling confused and insecure. For example, an evil partner might say, "You're just imagining things," when the victim confronts them about infidelity. They may go so far as to insist that the victim is overreacting or misremembering events, creating doubt in their mind. Over time, this can erode the victim's self-esteem and confidence, making them increasingly reliant on the gaslighter for validation. This toxic dynamic not only serves to control, but also deeply damages the victim's sense of reality and self-worth. 8. Controlling behavior. Evil individuals often exhibit a strong need to dominate and manipulate others through controlling behavior. They employ coercion, intimidation, and emotional manipulation to maintain power over their victims. This desire for control manifests in various ways, creating an oppressive environment for those around them. For example, a controlling partner might dictate how their significant other should dress, who they can see, or even what they can say. They might use threats or emotional outbursts to instill fear, ensuring compliance. Phrases like, "If you loved me, you wouldn't spend time with them," exemplify this behavior, as they manipulate feelings of guilt to exert control. This relentless dominance not only stifles independence but also fosters a toxic dynamic where the victim feels trapped and powerless. 9. Cruelty to animals or vulnerable individuals. A stark sign of an evil person is their cruelty toward animals or vulnerable individuals. This behavior stems from a deep-seated lack of compassion and a desire to exert power and control over those who cannot defend themselves. They often derive satisfaction from inflicting pain, viewing their victims as mere objects for their amusement or dominance. For example, an individual might harm pets or abuse animals, finding joy in their suffering. They may also exploit the weaknesses of vulnerable people, bullying them for entertainment. Such actions reflect a propensity for aggression and an alarming disregard for life, revealing a deeply troubled mindset. This cruelty not only showcases their character, but also serves as a warning sign of their potential for further violence and manipulation in their relationships. 10. Narcissistic behavior. Narcissistic behavior is a hallmark of evil individuals, characterized by arrogance, a lack of humility, and an unwavering focus on themselves. They often see themselves as superior to others, expecting constant admiration and validation, while showing little regard for anyone else's feelings or needs. For example, during conversations, a narcissistic person might dominate the discussion, steering it toward their achievements, while dismissing others' contributions as insignificant. They might say things like, "You'll never understand what it's like to be as successful as I am," highlighting their self-serving attitude. This selfishness not only alienates friends and family, but also fosters a toxic environment where others feel belittled and unappreciated. Ultimately, their inability to empathize with others and their constant need for validation can lead to strained relationships as they prioritize their own needs above all else, leaving those around them feeling used and undervalued. 11. Inability to accept responsibility. An evil person often exhibits a profound inability to accept responsibility for their actions. This trait demonstrates a significant lack of integrity, as they refuse to acknowledge their faults or mistakes. Instead, they typically engage in gaslighting and distortion of facts to shift blame onto others, making it nearly impossible for anyone to hold them accountable. For instance, if they fail to meet a deadline at work, they might blame a colleague or external circumstances, saying, "If you hadn't distracted me, I would have finished on time." This tactic not only avoids personal accountability, but also creates confusion and frustration among those they manipulate. By consistently deflecting blame, they undermine others' confidence and create a toxic atmosphere of doubt and frustration. This inability to own up to their actions fosters a sense of mistrust and instability in relationships, making it clear that they are more concerned with protecting their image than with genuine accountability or growth. 12. Enjoyment of others' misfortune. Evil individuals often take pleasure in the misfortunes of others, deriving satisfaction from gossiping, bullying, and creating drama. This behavior reveals a disturbing lack of empathy and a delight in watching others suffer, often framed as a form of entertainment. For example, consider someone who revels in spreading rumors about a colleague who just experienced a setback at work. Instead of offering support or kindness, they might gather a group to share the latest gossip, laughing and mocking the situation. Phrases like, "Did you hear what happened to them? It's hilarious," illustrate their enjoyment at another's expense. This sadistic tendency to relish in others' pain not only damages relationships, but also creates a toxic environment where individuals feel insecure and targeted. The thrill they experience from belittling others serves as a cruel reminder of their character, revealing a deep-seated need for validation through the suffering of those around them. 13. Lack of empathy towards strangers or outsiders. Evil individuals often demonstrate a profound lack of empathy towards strangers or those considered outsiders. This behavior can manifest as xenophobia, racism, or other forms of discrimination, where they dehumanize entire groups of people. Their inability to recognize the shared humanity in others encourages division and fosters a culture of exclusion. For instance, they might make derogatory comments about immigrants or marginalized communities, framing their disdain as justified. Statements like, "They don't belong here," or "They're ruining our society," reflect their willingness to alienate others based on superficial differences. This lack of empathy not only perpetuates harmful stereotypes, but also contributes to a toxic environment where fear and hatred can thrive. By dehumanizing others, they justify their prejudiced beliefs and actions, reinforcing barriers that separate people rather than fostering understanding and compassion. Such attitudes reveal an alarming willingness to ignore the pain of those outside their immediate circle, ultimately undermining social cohesion and promoting a divisive narrative. 14. Sadistic tendencies. Evil individuals often exhibit sadistic tendencies, deriving pleasure from inflicting suffering, pain, and humiliation on others. This cruel behavior reveals a deeply disturbed psyche, where the enjoyment of another's misery becomes a source of gratification. For example, someone might engage in bullying, deliberately targeting a person's insecurities to provoke emotional distress. They may say things like, "You'll never be as good as your siblings," enjoying the hurt their words cause. This desire to dominate through pain creates a toxic atmosphere, often leading to feelings of despair and isolation for the victim. Their actions are not just about control, but also about deriving satisfaction from the suffering of others. This sadistic pleasure can manifest in various forms, whether through verbal abuse, physical harm, or social exclusion, creating discord in relationships and communities. The enjoyment they take in causing pain not only highlights their character but also poses a significant threat to the well-being of those around them, making it crucial to recognize and address such harmful behavior. 15. Lack of empathy to oneself. A striking sign of an evil person is their lack of empathy toward themselves. This inability to recognize their own emotions and vulnerabilities often leads to self-destructive behavior. They may ignore their mental health, engage in harmful habits, or dismiss their own needs, creating a cycle of neglect and suffering. For example, someone might work excessively, pushing themselves to the brink of burnout, all while ignoring signs of fatigue or anxiety. They may think, "I don't deserve to rest, I have to keep going," demonstrating a complete disregard for their well-being. This internalized negativity creates feelings of emptiness and despair, making it difficult for them to break free from patterns of self-harm. This lack of self-empathy can manifest in various ways, including addiction, reckless behavior, or unhealthy relationships. By failing to treat themselves with kindness and understanding, they perpetuate a cycle of neglect that not only harms their well-being, but can also impact those around them. Recognizing and addressing this lack of self-empathy is crucial for personal growth and healing. as it reflects a broader inability to connect with oneself and others.